Yes, hello folks. Welcome along once again to the Irish Rally Podcast. We're back with Season 3, Episode 1. And for the first time, it's hard to imagine we're into Season 3. It's the first time we're going to have a clean run at a championship. It's absolutely crazy. We're delighted to be back. We have a stellar cast, and we are, of course, building up to the Galway International Rally, which is obviously coming up this weekend. It's all in association with Tree Rock, and you can get in touch with them on Facebook and Instagram. treerock.ie is their website as well. So thanks for getting in touch with us, lads, once again, and giving us a bit of support and a bit of backing for this edition of the Irish Rally Podcast. So we have a stellar cast coming up a little bit later on. We'll be chatting to Gary Kiernan and Tim McNulty. We'll also be chatting to Aoife Raftery and Kevin O'Driscoll. And we do have the President of Motorsport Ireland coming up in a moment's time. But first, I'm going to bring in I suppose he's been a co-driver for many people. He's going to be my co-driver for 2022, whether he likes it or not. Anyway, Mr. Anthony Nestor, how are we doing, Anthony?
I'm great. No, thanks for asking.
Good man.
You just bring me on first in case there's controversy, and I'll be stuck in the middle of it, is it?
Well, sure. Look, it's always good to have a lad who'll take some bit of flack anyway on our behalf here on the Irish Rally Podcast. You're used to it, so you're bulletproof at this stage. But how are you keeping anyway? Good to have you back for another season.
Oh, look, all good. To be fair, all good. The weather isn't so kind down here in Limerick tonight, but sure. Looking forward to getting out the weekend. We didn't get to do a whole pile last year. I suppose a lot of people didn't get to do anything at all. Thankfully, I was lucky enough to do 3 or 4 events, and sure. Look, it's a bit like the spring lambs, mad to get out in the field and go running around. So yeah, it'd be nice to get out. I suppose as well as everything else, you miss the camaraderie, you miss the people and the crack, and yes, of course you enjoy the sport and the competing, but you miss the buzz and the slagging, and as you said in your introduction there, Tim is back, so we can the fun level will increase the fact that he's back. So he was always a great character in the sport, so it's good to see him back as well. So it'll be nice to be out again.
Yeah, and every sport needs characters, of course. We're going to bring in the new president of Motorsport Ireland, Mr. Aiden Harper. Aiden, welcome along to the Irish Rally Podcast. Congratulations, first of all, and thanks for coming on and having a chat with us. How's things?
Thanks very much, Kevin. Yeah, great to be able to chat to you. All good. Just landing on my feet now in the presidency role now, just into the second week or so, as the case may be. So, big plans ahead for my term, and I suppose exciting year ahead of us in motorsport, and not just in rallying, because when we talk about motorsport, we sometimes zone in on rallying, but there's so many other disciplines out there. I know it's rallying we're talking about tonight, but we shouldn't forget all the other disciplines that are out there as well, working away in the background and delivering incredible events around the country.
Absolutely. So I suppose to give people an actual flavour, what is the role of President of Motorsport Ireland? What does the President typically do, for those that may not be familiar?
So the president basically is responsible for the day-to-day running of motorsport within the country. Ably assisted by all the working commissions that are in place. So there is a commission for all the disciplines, and they report into what we call the Council of Management, the Motorsport Ireland Council, of which the president chairs that council. So it's my position to chair the Motorsport Council, which is the governing council of sport here in Ireland, and also to work with the various chairs of the commissions to ensure that the work that's needed to be done, that the support that is needed to be there, is given as much as possible. To be the figurehead for motorsport in Ireland, and also to be the figurehead to represent Motorsport Ireland across in the FIA world as well. There's a lot of work we do with FIA, obviously, and each country, each ASN has a president, and then we all feed up into the top man within the FIA, who obviously has just changed now to Mohammed Ben Salam, who's the new FIA president. So there's new change within FIA, and there's new change within Motorsport Ireland. Also, the president has a working knowledge and assists in the office in number 34 Dawson Street, assists the office staff with what they need, and work through the various items that come into the office on a daily and weekly basis, as well as look after your real job, which is important as well outside of motorsport, and that can't be forgotten about as well.
A tough thing to balance, I'd imagine, because it is obviously very demanding. You've got a demanding job yourself, obviously, but another demanding one now. So time management is obviously very important, and trying to, I suppose, keep a level head through it all.
Absolutely, and that's where you rely on the office staff to do what's needed from them, which they always do and deliver on, and the various commissions that we have who do Trojan work, all voluntary, obviously. You rely on their good work, their camaraderie, and proposals that are brought to council, and then obviously I have a full council, a full team underneath me who actually assist as well. So it is a fine balance in timing, and I suppose when you take over a role, you don't realize how much actually goes into it. And probably it's the best time now just to pay tribute to the outgoing president, John Naylor, who gave so much time and commitment to the sport over the last 4 years and his previous term as well. There is an incredible amount of time needed for the presidency, but as you say, it's very important you get the work, life and real job balanced all across the line, because you'll be no good at anything if you don't do that. So again, you're relying on all the people that we have in place to deliver, to challenge, to question, and to assist where needs be.
I suppose from your point of view, like, what are the biggest challenges that you face, and indeed Motorsport Ireland, and how do you go about, I suppose, approaching those, and what would you kind of hope to, have said about you when your term kind of comes to an end?
Well, I'd like to think that they said at least, well, he tried to do a good job anyway. That's the main thing. I think I've sat on various commissions and I've sat on the council previous to this, and I was vice president as well. So I'm well aware of the task, to an extent that's ahead of me. I think, as we look forward into 2022, first of all, it's great to see a working calendar out there at the moment. I think everybody has welcomed it. I think we have a variety of disciplines up and running, but tonight we're talking about rallying. It's great to see championships back. It's great to see the forestry championship back and the tarmac championship back, and the rally championship coming in. We also have Troa, obviously this weekend kicking off in Galway, as well as other localized championships and regional championships taking off. So there's huge work that goes behind those, that goes behind the scenes in delivering them, and it's hats off to everybody that does that. I suppose my vision for the next 4 years, certainly starting off in this year, is to take a deep dive into what we do in motorsport, is to take a deep dive into what is there, to look at a new strategic plan as we move forward, and to make sure that plan is implemented. And areas like sustainability, environmental issues, various things like that, we have to take on board, we have to look at, we will be forced to do so. But again, setting up various working groups and commissions to deal with those items with set deliverables will be really, really important. Sustainability is the word out there at the moment, no matter what line of work that you're in or what business you do. And we need to look at that within motorsport. And as I said, we need to look and commission a new strategic plan, a plan that will be real and a plan that will be delivered on, and a plan that will have the input of as many people as possible, the input of all our clubs, all our working members out there, everybody in the grassroots of motorsport will be brought together under my presidency to ensure that this plan is created and delivered on.
Okay, well, look, I'll bring in Anthony on this. So, Aiden, like, obviously last year, one of the things Anthony would have touched on that was probably a little bit critical of Motorsport Ireland was communication. Would you kind of accept that maybe there's an improvement needed there? And is that something you kind of look at going forward?
For me, is it, Kevin?
Yeah, just in general, I suppose, in reference to last year at various stages on this podcast, when me and Anthony would have spoke about various things, regarding, look, be it fees or whatever it was we spoke about. Look, it's all in the past anyway. One thing that Anthony would have said at various times, and indeed people in general, there might have been a perception out there that communication mightn't have been where it should be. Would you accept that maybe that's something that should be worked on as well, or where are you with that?
Yeah, I think we're looking at the long-term strategy as well within the office. First of all, we will be looking to replace the previous CEO, who was there very, very soon, not in the guise of a CEO, but in another title. And stemming from that then will be various communication skills will be one of the items that we will be looking for as well, and hopefully embedding somebody within the office in that. But I think coming from last year, yeah, absolutely. I believe in transparency. I believe in open communication. I'm running my own Twitter account now at the moment, so I would ask everyone to follow MI Presidency. I'm putting out a couple of Twitters a week on anything that's happening out there, trying to keep people appraised, be at home or away, of what's happening. You know, we need to improve our communications. One of the items that did come out very strong last year was the lack of communication, and certainly that's something I'd like to drive. There has been slight improvements, I think. I think Anthony will agree in that. But going forward, we will have a lot more of that, a lot more transparency and communication, and I suppose a lot more of collaboration with the clubs and the people on the ground.
Well, you know, from my point of view, I'm delighted to have you here tonight, right? Because I would always feel that if someone from an organisation comes on and makes some sort of representation, whether someone agrees with it or not, that's their own opinion. But when they don't, I think sometimes that might not look good. So I'm very, grateful for you coming on this evening. I think that's a very positive step going forward, and I'm sure Anthony would probably agree with that as well.
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm familiar that Aiden is doing, that he's still going to continue in his safety role, so he will be seen obviously at every event on the ground where the action is happening. So he'll be keeping pretty close to the ground from that point of view, which is quite good and positive.
And as well, Kevin, I want to be accessible to everybody. So anybody, I will be attending club meetings, be it in person or be it on Zooms, or whatever the case may be. We have a club meeting coming up, actually, of all the clubs next month, and then thereafter, I'll give the hand to any club that wants me to attend a meeting. I'll absolutely do it, be it travel or be it on Zoom, and also to join any sort of podcasts or any type of interviews that's needed, because I believe that getting in front of the camera and getting in front of the people is so important, so that everybody knows where their motorsport is at. That's the important. It's your motorsport, it's their motorsport. It's not my motorsport, it's our motorsport. And that's very, very important for us as we move forward.
Perfect. Well, look, just before we let you go, a word on Galway then this weekend. Excitement is obviously building and everyone's buzzing. So, your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Look, Galway, great kick-off to the year on the rally discipline side. Other disciplines have already kicked off. Great entry. I know Tim is on here. He's going to talk in a while. Great to see previous people like Tim coming back in. It's an enormous task, as Anthony will know, to get any event up and running off the ground. And Galway have a huge task ahead of them this weekend, and they're well capable of it. And that's, a word to anyone that's going out there spectating at the weekend: just obey the marshals, follow their directions. They've been trained, they know what they're doing. Just do what you're asked at all times. It's great to see the international back as a 2-day as well in Galway. I think there will be incredible crowds attending. Everybody will want to be out at stage 1 to see the incredible amount of R5s and other machinery that's going through the stages. So really excited for this weekend. I will be there on the ground myself. I'll be there, and if anybody wants to chat or anything or come up and talk, please feel free to do so. Two things I'd just like to mention, Kevin, if you wouldn't mind. Two important things, I think, which we've established, which is very important. One is the establishment of the Women's Commission. So for the first time in Motorsport Ireland, we have a commission dedicated to women, and there's going to be a launch of the Women's Commission on the 8th of March, because that's International Women's Day. So the Women's Commission have already met, and we're building up towards an official launch of that commission on the 8th of March. And the second thing to mention is obviously the establishment of the Competitors Commission. And again, I think that's a huge positive as we move forward and as we work with the Competitors Commission, because again, it's back down to grassroots, it's back down to openness, transparency, and talking through the issues and problems, and then bringing them right up to council level, etc., for approval or whatever the case may be. So it's there's exciting times, there's new things afoot, and certainly look forward to 2022.
Yeah. Like us all. Anthony, anything to finish up with there before I let Aiden go? Are we all good?
All good.
All good. If you get the all good from Anthony Nestor, you're not going too bad.
I don't think my Wi-Fi signal is as good tonight as other nights. But look, to be fair, what Aiden says is very positive, and it's great to see such a fresh approach coming forward. you could only be but optimistic. And hopefully the past is in the past, and let's just drive on with it. All the mechanisms are in place, and it should all work quite well, as you said, between competitor commissions and also some other new commissions. So let's give it all a chance and see how it works out.
Good stuff. Well, listen, Aiden, the very best of luck, and thanks for joining us here on the Irish Rally Podcast this evening. All right.
No bother, Kevin. Anytime you want me on, just drop me a text.
Good stuff. Thanks a million. There we go. Aiden Harper, new president of Motorsport Ireland. We're now going to bring in a couple of other people. Tim McNulty, how are we doing?
How are we doing, lads? Kevin?
Thanks for joining us, Tim. Anthony sprinkled his magic and got us a stellar cast this evening again. You're back in the big time. I suppose the first question is, I don't know if why is a good question, but how maybe is probably the best place to start.
Well, I suppose we were always looking at it, Kevin, or certainly I was, and always had the draw to go back. Now, the age, getting a bit older these days, and that top 10 down in Galway now is a fair lineup. But no, I decided a couple of years ago, and then COVID hit, so I rang Richie Milner in Ford and inquired about an R5, and he said obviously they weren't selling with the COVID. He said it's a good time to be ringing. And I said there'd be no point ringing you, Richie, if they were scarce. Cost me another bloody 20 grand. So we had that bit of crack. So I got a good deal out from it. Whether we can blame the COVID or he had about 20 of them to sell. I don't know which one, but I seemed to strike at the right time. So took that in, and then we sat on it for a year, obviously, with COVID, and we converted it to right-hand drive, as most people will know now, and very happy with the car, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose there's a lot going on there. Firstly, a big decision to convert it over because I don't know, you're not in a position then to win a championship, but you can score points. Am I right in saying that?
No, we're in a position to win the championship and score points, but they're in the middle of sorting out the overall. So when you look at rally results on Saturday and Sunday, we're in a little box just below, but we're actually able to score the same points as the left-hand drive in the R5 championship and the tarmac championship. So they're in the middle. In fairness to Aiden that was on there, Aiden is working hard with the rallies committee and Troa, and just trying to get it sorted. Probably won't be sorted for Galway, but hopefully for West Cork, where we will be able to score points. Well, we are able to score points. We will be in the results, and we would be able to take a trophy on the podium, whereas we can't at the moment. But I don't think that'll affect me in Galway.
Well, I suppose you have been out and about. You've been doing a bit of testing or whatever. Where do you feel you're at? Obviously there will be a certain amount of ring rust anyway, naturally, given the long layoff. Yeah. But how do you feel you're progressing?
Well, we're very happy with the car. I've done quite a bit of work with the car, so the car is amazing. It's probably not as quick up a straight line as the Subaru, but it's definitely nimbler, brakes better, goes around corners and handles better. So I'm very comfortable in the car. The only thing I'm lacking now, Kevin, is seat time. And you won't know where you're at till you're against the clock. But, we're going to use our experience. Paul Kiley is sitting back in the seat, very experienced navigator. So we're going to use our experience and our know-how and bet our way in. And I've no doubt at some stage during the year we hope to mix it amongst that. Well, that's what would be the hope. But maybe, I say if we come off the first stage and we're 20 seconds down, as long as we know where that is, we'll be happy. If we come off the stage and we're 20 down and we don't know where it is, then we'll be scratching our heads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're looking at, is it 6 years, I think, on this rally event since you...
Well, probably we did the first stage in Galway. We only got about 3 or 4 miles of it. So I kind of count it's probably 10 years since I drove an Anger. But definitely the Anger will definitely be there. It's whether the driver will be there or not.
Yeah, look, it's mad, I suppose, when you think back on the time frame or whatever. And obviously in 2011 you were the first man to win the tarmac championship and the national in the 1 year, which was quite an achievement at the time. And what's funny, right? So we were trying to set this up. I know you were a little bit apprehensive or whatever, but I remember, I don't know, it was a Dottie Amora or what show or the equivalent was at the time, but you were on it, having done that.
Yeah, something on RT, some afternoon show, with Paul,
But yeah, it was the Irish Rally podcast you were afraid of. And it's probably because Nestor's here, I'd say. Let's be honest about it.
We do anything for Nestor just to keep him quiet.
It's a hard thing to do, trust me, but I suppose that's why he's here as my co-pilot.
I got about 12 texts off him today. Eventually I said, oh fuck it, I better do it.
That's why he's getting paid the big bucks, Tim, alright? That's why he's getting paid the big bucks. I'm going to bring in Gary Kiernan as well. Gary, how's things with you?
Not too bad. How are you boys keeping?
All right, Gary, how are you doing?
Hi, Gary.
So we've Tim in R5 machinery. You've opted to not go in R5 machinery. You're back with the modified men. So talk us through that.
Yeah, I brought no
We're just struggling with the volume there, I think, Gary. I don't know if Tim and Anthony are you picking up Gary there?
No, no, we can't hear Gary now.
Championship. But I look forward to maybe taking an R5 for a run for maybe some national event this year. But we'll stay with the modifieds. It's a good crack, and the boys, we all get on very well, but the competition is very serious too.
Mm-hmm. I just missed the very start of that, sorry, because the sound was just intermittent or whatever. But look, maybe you might repeat just the first half of what you said there for the viewers and listeners. So we know you're obviously a modified machinery. So what was the line of thinking behind it again?
I'll do the Irish Tarmac Championship and then the Irish Forestry and the two-wheel drive, and I might maybe hire an R5 for a round of the national, or maybe 2 rounds. We'll see how the year goes.
Good stuff. Did you enjoy the four-wheel? Obviously not as much as the two-wheel or whatever, but how did that experience go for you? And
yeah, it was good. We were surprised with our pace. It was our first time in left-hand drive. I don't know, we finished maybe 30-something seconds off Moffat, so I was quite happy with that. The cars are unreal, handling, braking. You can't compare them to an Escort at all. Corner speed, when you get on a straight line, they're boring. Though on a straight line, the cars are, I feel them boring anyway compared to the Escort. It's like sitting in a hen house and the door's about to fall off it, but it's enjoyable. It's a good buzz. But a lot of it's to do with who you're racing. The boys in the modified, we all get on hard well, and I was even chatting to Kevin Eves today, and his idea in Galway is once I beat you, I'm happy enough. So he bet us twice last year, so we'll be trying our best to be up near the top anyway in Galway.
Mm-hmm. And obviously we Kevin on the tail end of last year. Anthony, sorry, what was that?
I'm laughing here. I've heard rally cars. I'm at this since the mid-80s. A hen house with the doors falling off. I love it. It's brilliant. It is absolutely that is the best turn of phrase I've ever heard to compare an Escort to an R5 in my life.
Was like sitting in a road car compared to them.
Yeah. Where do you stand on this now, Tim? You just here.
Anything we bring, Kevin, we bring the R5 and the modified as well. The driver is modified. At this stage.
Yeah. So, like, in terms of going back through the years with Galway and Tim, we've kind of touched on your kind of, I suppose, is checkered history the right way to put it, but you are a past winner of the event as well. And we all know they are notoriously, tricky stages. And I believe from Recce reports that this year is no different.
Yeah, they're the classic Galway story, but I would count them. I mean, we made me check them on Saturday, and we're going back down Thursday for a run over them. But I would count them as extremely fast. They're very ballsy stages, and the guy that keeps the shoe in there. Some very deceptive stuff in stage 2. The 2 stages on Sunday are extremely fast. Gary would know the dark road or the black road, and Anthony would know it. So the way down to the crossovers, I call it, to come out the other side, both ends of it are just absolutely flat. The man that has his notes right there and a pair of balls in them will do well.
Yeah, so you're in a bigger staff, I think, Anthony, are you? Yeah, so what's the plans from your point of view? Because I never got your thoughts on what you think is going to happen.
Well, I was afraid Tim would accuse us of being there the 6 weeks checking them out. That's what I was afraid of. What are our plans? We haven't this car set up right yet. Now, we have modified the front and rear and put a much softer spring. We've kind of brought it down from like 70 Newton meters to just below 50. And we expect it to be able to lean into the corners an awful lot better. So we finished, was it 7th or 8th in Ulster? So, and we kind of know, and we can see, it's a bit like what Tim said, we can see where the time is lost. So, yeah, we're just going to see. Stuart has never been to Galway before, so he's not, I'm just going to have to tell him about these stone walls. They have a tendency to come out and hit the car, like, and there's lots of them. So, yeah, we'll probably just suck it and see for the first 3 and just see where we are. But a bit like everybody, looking, all three of us are the same. The idea is to get a decent result as close into the top 10 as you can, like so.
Now, come here, you're kind of half laughing at Tim about the right-hand drive and does it qualify for points and this, that, and the other.
I do recall... Put the steering wheel in the middle. Put the fucking steering wheel in the middle for him. He'll be grand.
Well, come here now. I recall a bit of controversy about you competing and whether a car you were in was modified or not a number of years ago. Was it in Ulster, I think, when maybe it came to light. So I don't know, have you much to say on that one?
I'll tell you, you should wash out your mouth with soap mentioning the words controversy in me in the one sentence. God forbid you, huh? You can't do that.
But yeah.
What are you saying about us in the Ulster?
I think it came to light maybe that we're in a national category that some of the guys in two-wheel drive might have agreed with at the time, if I remember correctly.
Yes, I must have an awful short memory.
Yeah.
I haven't
selective now rather than short. But look, that's the long and short. We've Aoife Raftery to bring in at a moment's time, but Gary's first shippy down there in the corner. He's in Mar 2 mode, I think, at the moment, and I know the internet is not hectic up there. But Gary, just before we let you go, plans then, gung ho. You know nothing else, only go, I suppose, and that's the mantra for the weekend.
That's the plan. You need to be clean and tidy. Try and be as fast as possible and tidy, not to make any mistakes. On 1 and 2, I had done a wee bit of recce on Sunday. 1 and 2 seems very dirty, and if you go off the road, it's gripes. So you're stuck for the day, and I hope I'm not there.
Good stuff. Well, listen, the very best luck, and thanks for jumping on with us here for a few minutes. All right, Gar.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks a million. So I'll say goodbye to Gary Kiernan. Tim, we're going to hold on to you for a minute, and we're going to bring in Aoife Raftery. Aoife, how are we doing?
Hiya, how's things? Thanks for having me on this evening.
Great to have you on. And I suppose, from your point of view, it's a local event, and you're relatively new to the sport, but you've been making great progress. And obviously last year, runner-up in the academy, I think, in the British Championship. So that's big progress in, it's only 2 years, I think, you're involved, aren't you?
Well, I started driving in 2021 in June. I headed over to I did the BRC Academy Trophy. There wasn't much happening in Ireland at the time, so we went there, but it was good. Good experience, learned a lot over there. Runner up in the Academy Trophy is very good. And heading out to Galway. I was co-driving in 2020, and that's when I started, so it should be good to go back now this year. The stages is going to be tricky, I think, on Saturday, but Sunday looks to be good and fast.
It does. So you're looking forward to it big time, and obviously your family is no stranger to the sport. I think Dean might have won. What did Dean win in 2014? Something over in the British Championship as well, I think. Yeah, if memory serves me right.
Yeah, junior BRC. No, he's definitely a great help as well. He was sitting with me in Wexford there. It's great to have all that help, anyone I can get with a bit of experience. He sat with me for Wexford, and then I had Matt Edwards with me up in Bushwhacker, and the two of them really helped. So it's just about getting experience. I don't actually have that much seat time, so I've been the aim is to get to the end of the rally and try to just get as much experience and improve.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's something I was going to ask you about, having Matt Edwards alongside you. So that was on the Whacker last year, I think. How did that kind of come about, and how did it go? You obviously would have taken a good bit from that experience.
Yeah, it was brilliant, in fairness. He was very good at explaining things, just driving skills. And I learned to left foot brake, which is a huge thing for me because I wasn't doing it beforehand. We went through that process on a test before the rally, and then I brought it straight into effect then at the Bushwhacker. It was really helpful. We practiced just how to get the most out of corners as well. Coming into them when you're on the corner and coming out of them, just the most efficient way to get through a corner, which was very helpful. That was brilliant, in fairness, I have to say.
You seem very open to learning, eager to learn. You're soaking it all like a sponge, because obviously the results are coming. But I suppose to Tim, like from your point of view, coming from a Tarmac Champions perspective, key learnings, I suppose, maybe tips and tricks to pass on to Aoife?
Well, again, Aoife seems to be making fantastic progress in her rally career. So Look, I think there's huge work to be had. It's not just about driving the car, and Anthony will have sat with me for years as well. I'm a great believer in your notes and understanding them and the delivery of them, and making sure when I make my notes, Aoife, the road reads like a storybook. When you come around the corner, whatever's on that page is actually what's in front of you. There's no, hidden shadows. There's nothing. My notes are very descriptive, and Anthony will give out about that several times over the years, but the main thing is if you can get the note delivered and it is what it is on the road, you can then, and if you can drive, well, then it just makes life a bit easier. But always remember, what's flat is flat and what isn't.
Yeah, definitely. Now I've been trying to I've been writing my own pace notes, so it's something I've been working on to just to rely and trust on as well for on the stages.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing as well, Eve, is write down whatever you feel works for you. It doesn't have to be what Killian or Brian Patterson or Anthony Nestor or Tim McNulty says. If a giraffe means a square lefty and it works in your head, that's what you use. Yeah,
that's perfect. Definitely.
Yeah. Simple as that. And I suppose, having done a bit of navigating, then that's always a help. And a lot of people would have crossed over and some drivers go in and navigate and vice versa. But what, I suppose, even though you're probably a little bit inexperienced still, what should be there, what shouldn't be there. And the fact that you're going writing them and all, I suppose it cuts out the excuses from your navigator's point of view as well, because you've gone and made most of them. But it's just if there's a slip in delivery, then, other than that, I suppose you can't really say a whole lot, can you?
No, in fairness, all my co-drivers, they've been perfect on the notes. It's been good. It's a good experience to write them for, so it is. It was difficult starting over in the VRC because you'd only had 2 loops to get the notes right. It was like jumping in the deep end. But at least for Galway now, you get to go over the stages 3 times each, so it gives you that one extra loop. Really helps.
And you're looking forward to it anyway, and hoping to put local knowledge to some sort of an advantage.
Yeah, it would be good. I wouldn't know the stages that, I've been watching the Kiernan and the Mackie on Sunday, but I think Sunday stages will be good. They're very fast. I know the Black Road has been used a lot before, but I think it'll be run in a different way than usual. I know it's run always in different ways, but I think it's kind of a new format, which should be good. And then just preparing for it has been very good. Been part of the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy. They've been helping me prepare for events, which was brilliant. We did an academy day there a week ago, and we were just with Alan Heary. We were doing fitness, and we were talking about our fitness, performance and mental training, which I think is definitely going to help in this year's rally and trying to improve and get that last few % out of each performance.
And this is where it's at now, I suppose. And in terms of where you want to go or where you hope to go, what's the short, medium, and long-term goals that you want to get out of rallying?
This short term this year, I need to get as much experience as I can, as much seat time, get to the finish. I need to want to improve my results, step by step, build it up, and then long term to get to the top, to put in the work to get to, the top, to drive as my job. So it is get to the top.
That's level. The big focus. And what you actually doing aside from rallying kind of at the moment then? What's the plan B, I suppose, if rallying is not working out?
Plan B, I'm in college, so I'm actually on placement at the moment. So I'm working for a construction company, BAM, up in Kildare. So that's what I'm at the moment, aside from rallying. But hopefully that stays as plan B.
Good stuff. Well, listen, the very best of luck over the weekend. Thanks for jumping on here, Aoife. All right.
Thanks a million for having me. Really appreciate it.
There we go. So, Tim, before we say good luck to you, again, just thanks for coming on. It's great to have you back. There's a big buzz. They want to know how Tim McNulty's going to get on. Are you feeling any pressure at all, or is it all a bit of crap?
Not a bit, Kevin. Yeah, look at. There's a few people giving you well wishes, a few people saying he'll get wiped, whatever. I'm out in the long grass, number 14. Suits me. I'll watch what's going on in front of me. And look, will there be a couple of casualties? Maybe they're very difficult stages. I could be one myself. but look at head down and we settle in. As I said, it's 10 years since we drove an Anger, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but we're definitely going to bring our experience with us and stuff, and work as hard as we can. And the main thing is enjoy it at this stage. I wouldn't rule out a fastest time maybe mid-year, probably not in Galway, but we're definitely going to be trying and hopefully enjoy it. Yeah.
Great stuff. Listen, thanks a million for jumping on the Irish Rally podcast, Tim.
No
You might come
problem.
on now the next time. It's not as bad as you thought it was going to be, and we're a little bit. I'm not going to do a disservice to RT, but we're not as intimidating anyway, or whoever you want to look at as you thought we were.
I've been pulled up in front of worse jurors, I can tell you.
Good stuff.
Thanks,
Listen,
Kevin.
the very best luck. We'll chat to you soon. Tim McNulty. Standing by for us is Kevin O'Driscoll, press officer of the Galway International Rally and West Cork as well. How are you getting on, Kev?
Not too bad now, Kevin. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Hi, Anthony.
Good stuff. Great.
Hi, Kevin.
Long time no talk, Anthony.
Pardon?
Long time no talk, I said.
Oh, yeah.
Man of many questions, Kevin, over the last few days. He's been busy.
You generally come away with more questions than answers after talking to him as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, Kev, give us, I suppose, a flavour of what's been going on, how busy you are, and a gauge of the excitement, because even from the outside in, there's a massive buzz. I think the place is going to be thronged over the weekend. But, yeah, obviously, you've had a lot to cater for. A lot of things have to be done right, and all those little quirky things, I suppose, you're making sure are in place, because this is, it's been a couple of years or whatever, and we're getting up and running for a championship for the first time in a couple of years. So obviously that brings a lot of work, which you've been getting through over the last, not just weeks, I would say months, possibly years.
Yeah, it's been busy. I mean, I suppose we all have our own tasks. The committee is there, and everyone has a job to do, and they know what to, everyone works well together. I'm not privy to, we'd say, every single aspect of it, because, between doing bits on the program and, press and all that kind of stuff, other guys have other abilities and other things they do, like, actually going out manning stages and, marking roads and stuff like that. So, everything is coming together as well as we can hope it can be, I suppose. It's strange 2 years since, I suppose, any wheel turned an Anger up in the side of the country, but it's there's a good buzz. There's a lot of positive feedback from residents and everything else. It's been really good. I think there's a lot of excitement around there, and a lot of families kind of asking where can we see the event and bring their young lads to it and daughters to it and everything else. And I think that's great. It's fantastic for the town of Loughrea. It's fantastic for Galway, because it's going to be busy in both places economically and everything else. I think the crowds will be very big. The weather, maybe it's hard to know what way it's going to be for the weekend, but I don't think that's going to stop anyone. I think it's just going to be a busy weekend.
And I suppose there are a couple of questions which we'd always get, and in particular people have been in touch with the Irish Rally podcast about. You might even just reveal the first car on both days, that people have a little time frame or timeline to know when to arrive in Galway for, if they are coming up on the day.
Yeah, that's fine. The programs are going to be out anyway, I think tomorrow, but obviously there won't be anything online because it's so late in the day for printing. But yeah, just to give people a heads up, so all the stages for the 2 days are based around the town of Loughrea. The first one Saturday morning is near a place called Kiltormer, East Galway, and the first stage is 10 to 9. And the last stage that day then is 3:30, so it's quite an early finish. And Sunday morning, the first stage is a bit more leisurely, I suppose, 9:20, just outside the town of Loughrea again, a stage called Eden Hill, and just literally out the Court Road from Loughrea. So it's very, and obviously the Black Road, as Tim and Aoife had said earlier on. So there are the 2 stages Sunday. So it's 3 stages, 3 times Saturday of Kiltormer, Fula, and which is near Tina, and you have Lime Hill, which is just near Kilbrack, not too far outside Loughrea and the Woodford Road. So there's a lot of interest there. To me, as somebody from Cork originally, but growing up looking at Galway rallies back in the day, there's an essence of what Galway should be, I think, about it in the stages. I wouldn't class them. Sunday stages are fast, but Saturday stages to me are real Galway. They're narrow, they're twisty, grass up the middle in places, stone walls everywhere, farmyards, real hard work in them. But talking to the guys that were wrecking it last weekend when I was out, signing roadbooks and stuff, they seem to enjoy the challenge of it. They said, yeah, it's tough, particularly parts of stage 1 and parts of stage 3, as Aoife said earlier on. But I mean, that's the nature of it. It's a winter rally, like, in Ireland, so you're not going to get, smooth roads and dry roads and everything else this time of year. But what I like about it, from having looked at the stages myself, is that they're a good challenge. They really are. You have to work at them, and if you win, you'll have earned it.
Hmm. I suppose in previous times, a lot of people would have remarked on the Galway Rally, and we had Austin McHale, incidentally, obviously on for the first episode of season 2 last year, and the way in which he speaks of the Galway Motor Club and the event is just huge. Like, he has it up on a big pedestal, and how accommodating the club have been, and that's with good reason. There's obviously a great relationship with competitors, with those involved, and the name is there and it's built up over time, and it has lasted and stood the test of time as well.
It has. I mean, it has challenges, of course, because this time of year doesn't help it a lot of the time, because it's just after Christmas. Guys are trying to get out, and cars aren't oftentimes ready, and its conditions can be just tricky at times. But I think the fact that I suppose absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think going back to a 2-day format has helped the club this year. It has helped the rally. There's a bit of excitement, a bit of a buzz around the whole thing again. I don't think any year can be a proper rally year without starting in Galway, because Galway is where everything begins. It's I mean, Anthony's at the game a lot longer than I am, and you probably yourself, Anthony, like, it's the rallying season really starts in Galway.
Indeed. I think actually just something to mention, just to follow on from a point that Aiden Harper mentioned earlier. I think it's very important that the spectators, the genuine spectator, is always behaving. But just if they see people that maybe misbehaving or doing things they shouldn't, just maybe have a word, or it is very important when there's huge crowds involved that that everybody leaves Galway in a positive way. The only thing you should leave after is your footprint. Take your the little things. Take your rubbish home with you. Don't be misbehaving on the roads. I know people are sick of hearing it, but when there's thousands and thousands of people, look, we've all heard the stories with the bio racers and that. So we're trying to get everybody to behave, and I think it's important that they do, because they could destroy a sport in 2 minutes if people misbehave. So hopefully that people that behave in a positive manner when they're out at these things, especially when there's large crowds involved, because it ruins it for everybody if they don't. So I think hopefully that.
But even from Anthony, the point of view of what we've seen recently on the Monty, like with Craig and Paul, really had a very
with the guy in the tripod.
That was really silly.
Crazy stuff.
And
crazy stuff.
We need people to be on their best behaviour. Like, do you know what I mean? In fairness, and I always felt that when we were marching the junction anyway, and we spoke about communication with Aiden earlier. But like, there is a certain way that you talk to spectators, and obviously spectators might not always talk back to you in the way that you would like them to talk to. But if you can keep calm and level in that moment when there is a bit of conflict, just explain clearly, and you will still probably get abuse in one or two. But you'll find that the majority at junction will have common sense, and inevitably they'll probably end up turning on the guy that's causing a bit of hassle. So,
and to be fair, if the spectator, if the genuine spectator could even help in with the marshal, remember the poor chap or lady, whatever the case may be, they're probably there since 6 o'clock in the morning. I have a feeling actually the first stage they're either meeting at 6 or 7. I see it come into the Limerick Motor Club site there. So even by the time you arrive to stage 1 spectating, they're probably there over 2 hours. It's wet, it's cold, it's February, and they're trying to get people to go to a certain place. And if people found the wherewithal to say, give them either a bit of encouragement, or stand with them and try and help get the people into the better position, because the quicker they can do it, the more efficient the event will run. It's just that they have a long day. I see it here at any of the events that we'd go to, and Kevin will relate to this when you're out. Like, they're there 2 hours before the event starts, and then when everybody has gone home and the event passes, they have to clean up the whole place, and they're there for another 2 hours. It's a one long day. So and it's only a small thing, and I would say this to either say it to spectators, and I would say it to competitors. It was something we learned many years ago, and I know you can't do it obviously when you're competing through the stage, but even when you're only entering the stage and exiting the stage, just say hello, wave your hand, hello, thank you very much. That's all it takes. just acknowledge. I think it's very important to acknowledge to people. As I said, when you're competing, you won't get to see a lot of them. But the spectators, when the spectators leave in the junction, just to thank the marshal. It's only something small. They can't take it to the bank and cash it. It's worth nothing, but it's worth something. It's nice to be. It's nice to. It's nice to receive gratification because they do put in the time to. And as I said, it's all voluntary. They're doing it there because they like to do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's something they always do. As taking photographs and doing press, it's something I always do is thank the marshals when I'm leaving, because without them, you have to discuss with them first. It's okay to stand in certain places and all that, and it's a two-way. Like you say, communication is a two-way street. You want both sides to agree on something. You don't want somebody shouting the place down. I mean, look, name dropping and giving a very good example here would be the likes of Derek Cummins, like Carlo. Like, it's brilliant. I've seen him manage massive crowds with him and his team. And there could be thousands there. There's never a crossword. There's always very, very open communication, and everyone does what they want because they have the right attitude, and people appreciate them because they have a bit of crack with them, and they're not, overbearing. It works both ways. I do get what you're saying, Anthony. I mean, at an end of a long day, a marshal can feel probably rightfully aggrieved at times with things going on. So you have to cut him a bit of slack at that point.
Cold and wet.
Yeah, after 3 runs over a stage,
it's a long day.
In fairness,
especially if it's a crowded area, they're going to be busy.
Yeah.
I've marched with Derek's team, and the setup he has, lads, like he goes and he went off and bought radios, like state-of-the-art radios as well, not just Mickey Mouse things like that are cheap and cheerful. And everyone is set up with an earpiece. And there has been challenges previously. I remember Glen in Donegal 3 or 4 years ago when there was a massive crowd, and that it was difficult now, right? And because of 1 or 2 situations as well. But if he hadn't been set up with the earpieces and all that, it would have been a difficult enough situation. Because obviously with that, I think there could have been 12 or 13 on the location there, So it is very important. How are you fixed actually on that front, Kevin? Because I know there was a post going out there.
I actually don't know yet. We have a meeting tomorrow night. Now we'll know. I mean, there is interest from the various clubs. To be fair, the usual. There is a lot of junctions on some of those stages, all right, definitely. Some days 18 or 20 junctions, but there is a lot of help. I don't know the specifics of it at the moment. So I'm hoping, I know the last time Galway ran 2 years ago, we actually probably we were overloaded with marshals. It's different for 1 day rally as to a 2 day rally though. So, but yeah, usually the clubs around are always very, very good to help. To be fair, there's always lots of support, and I think I think it'll be the same this year.
That's what you want. And
I know certainly in Limerick here we have a club WhatsApp group, and it got a very positive reaction. We put out our chief marshal put out the word when it came through from Galway some weeks back, and there was quite a steady stream of people. I just was watching it there on the WhatsApp group last week. It's a very steady interest in people heading to Galway. So, and that's all good.
It is indeed. So if I just before we finish up then, right? So some predictions. Let's bring it into it. If I was asked to, go to you guys for a 1, 2, 3, maybe in the national and obviously in the international, what are we thinking? How is it going to pan out?
For the national or international?
Give us your top 3 for both.
Both. Look, it's very hard to look over Alistair or Callum. I'd say maybe just on the basis of the experience. I know Alistair hasn't done any rallying for 2 years. I would probably tip him slightly over Callum, but there won't be much in it. And then Josh had a good run of form towards the end of last year. Marion is there as well. Now we've lost Vandenberg and actually Johnny Greer has withdrawn as well. So we have, but like we've done a Kelly, Declan, of course, Declan, of course, is running a WRC. So I suppose, he could blow everyone into the weeds, or, the pace of the top 2 seeds could be, very, very strong. I suppose I'd go Callum Alistair, and I suppose at a push because of the car, I'd go Declan maybe somewhere in maybe 3rd or maybe 2nd, I don't know, but I think they'd be the top 3. The national, it's very hard to be on Gary and Kevin, to be honest with you. They really are. Damien Tourish is always thereabouts as well. Declan Gallagher will be thereabouts. Daniel McKenna, Daniel is there. I mean, he'd like to rally for a while, but he wouldn't have lost any speed. That one, to be honest, is far, far harder to call than even the international is. As tight as I think the international is, and Josh is another person, of course, I shouldn't overlook because he can be very quick as well. But international, I think they're I'd probably lean towards Gary. I think Gary, but he probably might thank me for saying that. But yeah, I think, but Kevin will keep him honest. As I said, it'll be the first stage is tricky, and I suppose it's really about getting through that first and getting rhythm going. It's too easy to fall off the road in that first stage. It is a very, very difficult first half at that stage. And if you're not on it, if you're not concentrating, you're in a ditch, and Duali's lost for you.
Before I go over to Anthony, right? So, look, I don't know if we're at liberty to discuss why Johnny Greer's not there, and I won't delve into that because I don't know the ins and outs of it. But Matt Edwards' situation, we do know, and that's desperately disappointing, and it's kind of, I won't say a lesson, right? Like, Matt's a very knowledgeable and intelligent guy, and someone has obviously, without knowing the exact particulars, gone and led up the garden path with regards backing him for the event, and maybe even further on for the championship. It's just really disappointing that something like that could happen and has happened, and he's missing out as a result. Like,
yeah, for me, Kevin, yeah.
Yeah, jump in.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It is, I suppose. Look, man, like, you see, the problem nowadays is rallying, I suppose, isn't the number one sport. It used, like, once upon a time, you would probably soccer, rugby, and rallying on the Sunday. That was it. Now people have other interests. Money goes in different places. You don't have the same. It's probably not as easy for anyone to rally. Matt is a 3-time champion. I mean, you'd say, if right was right, it should be easy enough for him to get. Actually, I just see somebody commenting here. I forgot about James Stafford completely. Absolutely, even though it's not Darien territory. Yeah, he'll be if the car stays going from he'll be there or thereabouts. If he's in contention Sunday, he'll certainly be up there. I think Saturday may not suit Darien. But going back to Matt, I think yeah, it's a shame. It would have been fantastic to have the triple BRC champion over here doing that. I'm not overly sure the ins and outs of it. It's just, it just sounds like a lot of his time was wasted. Johnny, I believe, is just work commitments. That's all. I think it's just that's why he's not starting. But with Matt, yeah, it is, because he worked really, really hard, and we had communication with him over the last 2 weeks. He did all he could do. He really wants to do a tarmac championship. He wants to test himself, which is brilliant, I think, for the Irish guys as well, because it's coming over here, taking on like to Callum and Alistair on their own territory isn't an easy thing. But you look, Matt is talented. We saw the Ulster what he did, so it's just a shame. And hopefully he will get out here and do a bit of rallying this year.
Absolutely. So, any closing thoughts before we finish up?
No, not really, other than just hope everyone stays safe, enjoys the weekend, behaves themselves where they should, do as the marshals say. Like to say, keep the race in its place, enjoy it, take in the atmosphere. Hopefully it'll be a good one. Just with regards to the scrutiny area, is not open to the public. Ceremonial start is at 8 o'clock tomorrow on Friday evening. That's open, that's fine, obviously, and service is also okay as well in Loughrea. It's open to people to walk in and out, so that's pretty much it. I think I don't know if there's anything else off the top of my head anyway that I can think of.
Any question for Kevin, Anthony, before we leave it there?
Pardon? The same question? Oh, I would say no questions. No, that's good. I would agree with you saying about the Darien. I see someone up there for James Stafford. Yes, Sunday, yes, but I'm not an expert on it. I would have thought it's going to be hard to get the power of a Darien down on the ground with those conditions and muck and slippy conditions.
Stage 1 and stage 3, I think in particular, will be difficult for Darien.
Yeah. And what happens on the second run through, they get so much muck pulled out on the stages, it's very, very difficult afterwards. And again, like as you said in the national, and Gary Kiernan's friend down here in Limerick, Keith Moriarty, would murder me if I didn't say Gary would win it. I think it's Gary from Kevin Eves, and there'll be nothing between them, and Damien Tourish. They'd be my pick of the three. And Callum, Josh and Marion, but I couldn't tell you what order.
Good stuff. Well, listen, Kevin O'Driscoll, thanks a million for jumping on. I know you're going to come on with us next Tuesday as well, and we'll go through all the class winners and the very best luck, I suppose, to yourself and everyone involved over the weekend. And thanks for coming on tonight. All right.
That's great, Kevin. Thanks a million for that.
There we go, Kevin O'Driscoll, press officer for Galway International Rally. So, Dendra was too. Anthony, the best luck to you. Obviously, thank you
very much.
You're raring to go. If I was to ask you now, maybe you can't put your finger on it, but how many seasons is this of rallying? Just out of interest, can you recall? When did you start, and what season are you into?
Start counting the grey hairs in my head. I don't know. When did I start? I started in Jesus, I wasn't expecting that question. What season? I started in the Stone Throwers Rally in Tipperary with a friend of mine here that actually I was only speaking to him the other night, a chap called Aiden Harper. And we started in the Stone Throwers Rally in 1985. We had an accident where the car went up on its side and it went on fire. And I got such a fright, I picked the fire extinguisher out of the car and took off down the road. I actually forgot to put the fire out. He actually had to send me back to put the fire out. That's my memory of that accident in 1985.
So you're into your 37th or 38th season, like that's.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I'm not good at counting.
I wouldn't be great now either, but I'm.
Yeah.
I think that's in around right, like yeah.
Yeah. The bones are getting a bit achy and the joints are getting a bit achy, but the head doesn't feel that you have that much mileage up under you.
And the enthusiasm.
I think what you find, the one thing I would say, and it's lovely to see younger people coming in, of course it is, because, you know, to be fair, the likes of me are just the ancient lads at this stage. But I think as you get a bit older, and I suppose it goes for every sport, but it's great in rallying because unlike football or hurling, you know, you get your 30s and to be fair, you're probably, you know, the body isn't fit enough to keep going. And that could be in a case maybe for drivers too, I don't know. But I find with co-driving, and you see the likes of Mickey Joe there out in Monte Carlo there with Eamon having a great result again there recently. I think you take a more mature, you take a more mature outlook of the whole thing. You're able to evaluate and have a steadier head about you when you're a bit older as a co-driver. James O'Brien is another man there now that's around quite a while, and you find to think that things that may fluster some people probably may not fluster us because we've probably seen it before and we've probably taken a bit more relaxed approach. I also find as you get a bit older, you tend to enjoy it a bit more. You're not as apprehensive, you're not as nervous, you're much more relaxed. I would have the opposite issue. It takes me 2 or 3 stages just to get the adrenaline going, but when it's going, it's a fantastic feeling. But it does take me a while just to I think Niall Maguire put it very well. When I start speaking at the same speed the car is going, you know I'm in good form. He always related that he knew I was on par when I got the voice went up and the voice went up to the same speed that the car was going forward, that he knew then, yeah, you're enjoying it now. But there's a great buzz out of it. It's an unusual sport. It's a minority sport, of course, certainly in Ireland. But yeah, it's like every sport, you like it. And I suppose as co-driving is a little bit different in that I don't know who the oldest is at it, or how long they're at it, or how long you can stay at it. The one thing I would say about the modern cars, it's the biggest issue you find when you kind of go over 40 years of age, certainly, is getting your legs out over the roll cage to get in and out of them. You're not as flexible as you could be, like, and bending over to get out. And I suppose as you get older, you tend to put on a bit of weight in that as well, which it certainly isn't a help. But yeah, I must say I find it the most relaxing place in the world. It's sitting in a car, even though it's relaxing. It shouldn't be, which means there's something medically deficient with me. As McNulty says, we are a bit modified now, like, you know. So as a friend of mine says, maybe we're just wired a little bit different. So, but either way, yeah, it's a nice sport. I like it, and I think you find you go to all the rallies, it's really a small circus, a small group, and you're meeting the same people, you're meeting the same marshals, same officials, same timekeepers. You know, over years, it's more or less the same people to go to all events, and as well as missing the buzz of the sport, you miss the camaraderie, you miss the crack around service, the mugs of coffee going left, right, and centre. Someone feeling sorry for someone else and giving them a ham sandwich or whatever the case may be. You miss all that. So yeah, it'll be good to have it back. And as I said, you know, hopefully we're at the end of COVID. I know there's still a few minor restrictions there, but it looks like we're, for the most part, let's say the country as a whole seems to be on top of this. So fingers crossed that let's see how Galway goes. Let's hope it's a successful event for the club. I know certainly firsthand, at a much smaller event level, what goes into it. I can only imagine what goes into the likes of the Donegals, West Corks, Cork 20s, and I presume the likes of Kevin O'Riordan or any of those guys. I'm sure we'll have them on at a later date, and Greg McCarthy's of this world, and the other COCs of the events in the future. But the time they must put into this, just mind blowing. Like, I certainly couldn't do it anyway. So the best of luck to them.
Absolutely, and we pass on those regardless sentiments. So a couple of things to mention before we do finish up. So Colin O'Toole, who obviously is from J&J Services, was very good to us when we were getting the podcast up and going off the ground. He's carrying the Irish Rally Podcast logo on the car in the event, so we're delighted with that. And our sponsors tonight, Tree Rock. You can visit treerock.ie. That's the website, or get them on Facebook or Instagram as well. And I believe John O'Reilly of Tree Rock is obviously competing in the event this weekend. I think he might be carrying the logo as well. He's not a fan of logos, I don't think, in general. He likes to go just plain, but it may or may not be on it. So look, we won't fall out over it anyway. That's the main thing. The other thing as well, just to make people aware of, obviously we put the content out for free, and we do put a lot of work into getting it. And if you feel that you want to go and support the podcast, we do have a link in the streams there. It should be on Facebook anyway. It may not be on Twitter and YouTube, but it's definitely on the Facebook one, for a Buy Me a Coffee link. So basically, the content will always be free, but if you feel like you want to support or chip in some way, you can for the price of a coffee. And Anthony loves a latte, I believe. So it is there. There's no onus on you to do so. We will keep putting it out there for free. We won't be blocking it off on you or anything. But if you do want to show us a bit of support or whatever for the price of a coffee, it is there. There's a link in the description as well. Anthony Nestor, it's great to have you on board for the season. Hopefully we can get you for the most part. Thanks for being assistant producer as well in getting a lot of these guys on, because I was at 6th and 7th the last few days. I might as well be straight and honest about it. So
is that what it's called? Is that what it's called? An assistant producer? But geez, I'll tell you one thing. I've been given a lot of titles, but I never got that one. That's a new one to me.
You don't need to child the brag for that one anyway. But you might get executive producer one day. We'll see how this whole thing goes. Listen, thanks a million. Pleasure.
You're grand. Thanks. Good luck. Good night, and God bless.
There we go. And that's it. Don't forget, folks, you can get in touch with us. You can email us irishrallypodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram @IrishRallyPod. That's really it. Best luck to everyone involved this weekend for the Galway International Rally. We'll be back next Tuesday again. We'll confirm the time, probably be 9 o'clock. We might get going at 8:30, but we will confirm that after the event over the course of the weekend. So until then, take care.